lived on the farm and over by the Indiana line, and went to school, to high school, real small high school, and then after that went to ISNU, which was ISU way back then, and majored in music. Was drafted after that, went to the Army for 2 years. Was in the Army band, and then came to Atlanta. They had an opening for band director, and I was there for 31 years. And retired from that and did Kelly Temporary and IRS and all kinds of stuff till March, and then I had to retire. My body wouldn't listen to me.
I'm Rosalie Seymour, and I live probably 12 miles from where he lived, but we ended up in the same high school, and we dated about 4 years.
5 years, yeah.
5 years before we got married, so we've known each other 65 years.
Wow.
And we're still talking. And I'm the black sheep of the family. I didn't go to college, but I worked all my life. I worked at State Farm, I worked at IRS, I worked at the school cafeteria, and over in Louisiana I worked at the school there. And then I spent several years raising 4 kids.
Her main job was raising the kids.
That's great.
And then as soon as the youngest was in school, then she worked at school.
Your life?
We had 2 brothers. We were stepping stones. Anyway, we went to Danville to a music teacher who was from Chicago, a very good man, and I learned to play steel guitar, and one of the brothers played regular guitar, and the other was so small for the bass he used a cello. Well, we played around quite a bit.
They were the famous Seymour Trio.
We played on, they had amateur hour on Chicago stations, 2 Chicago stations, and we went there.
That's
Each
great.
one. We have a picture of that.
I grew up on a farm too, and I didn't like dolls or anything like that. I played with an old workhorse. I remember I'd get up on his back and I'd walk like I was in the circus. And I took piano lessons, but I didn't practice, but I still play.
She's played in church for 40 years. No, it's been 40 or more than that.
But anyway, we just lived an ordinary farmer's life. We went to town on Saturday night to do our trading, and that's what you did then. You trade your eggs and butter and cream for money, for groceries. And then when I was 8th grade, we moved to East Lynn, and that's different life began, but that's where I met him.
My grandpa and grandma came from France, and he was a cabinet maker. In fact, he lived around here for a while, and he had 5, 6, 7 kids, I think.
Well, he said that his family's originally from France. Is that what you said? Do you know about your
Sweden. Yeah, did your grandpa, I know my grandpa came over on a cattle boat.
Yeah.
At that time, we didn't, and we valued what we had because we didn't have very much. You know, Dad was a small farmer, and we raised a lot of our own things, and I never realized that we didn't have everything that everybody else had. And as we grew up and had our family, our son said one day, I didn't realize that we didn't have any money when we were growing up.
Yeah. When we retired, we planned everything out. I retired in '90, but I worked all kinds of jobs, and she retired in '96. And we planned everything out so that everything was paid for. The house and the cars and everything. And so we didn't have any debts that way. 60 years, you know you have arguments, stuff like that. I don't know
No, we
whether...
don't.
Do we argue? I don't know whether we argue. We've never yelled at each other. And never that. If there's a disagreement, then we agree to disagree. We drop the subject right then. And it's just like nothing happened and we're back to where we were because when you get mad, you don't think straight. It's just true. And if you've got to think and figure out what the other person is thinking.
Have you ever heard of a place, Smoke on the Mountain?
Yes.
We're not going to see that. We've seen it 7 times.
Barn 2, you know anything about Barn 2? We're here. Conklin's Barn 2. Okay. It's a barn. It is the local people, they're kind of professional. Murray is and all that. But anyway, I got in the habit, when I retired, of taking groups over like 20 or 40, 50 of them at a time, you know. Then I got tired of it. We're taking 32 over to see Smoke on the Mountain, which is Southern Baptist, old-time hymn music and the like. And
It's good.
I've seen it 7 times, and I would see it
Different theaters.
and I would see it more times yet too. It's so good, so humorous and down to earth, and just it's a good play. I used to take the high school kids when I was first teaching to Chicago, chorus and band. The other teacher and I took them to see the musicals. We saw 11 different musicals. My Fair Lady, Music Man, all those. But if you can imagine, I drove one of the buses up, and we go up, leave about 4 o'clock in the morning, and we go to maybe a museum, and then I dump them off at Marshall Fields. Can you
Now
imagine
you would
that?
do that.
Yeah.
You let them out. Now 2 of you stay together, but now you would
Dump them off at Marshall Fields and say, now the theater, Schubert's down here 2 blocks. Meet me there. And,
It's all except one.
and we, I tell you, you wouldn't do that now. Made it easier to drive to Bloomington.
Okay.
Go to work in Bloomington.
I don't know if it affected.
Nothing otherwise. Old 66. I don't know if you've been uptown, but our town is becoming noteworthy on Route 66
Okay.
because Bill Thomas, who is our president of the board, has really pushed that. And we have people from all over the world stop by with the farm.
I don't know if the route changed the church or anything, because most people are either in the country around it or from Atlanta. We've got some now from Lincoln coming up, which is nice. I guess it's a second home with all of our friends, family. It means a lot, I think, or we would still be gone there all this time.
Yeah.
It's a foundation. You know,
The only thing I regret is there was several in my class, and on Easter we all got baptized. I mean, and I don't think that meant anything to me then. Like now, you'd think more about it, but that was, we never talked about it much at home. We just went to church.
some people, it's just such a great event right at the time. And we were talking about that one time in Sunday school class, and I said, I don't know, it's just a gradual thing for me all the time. He said, that's all right. I was kind of disappointed in myself because I didn't have that big awakening. But it built strong faith
Because I
all the
can't
way
remember
through.
anything that changed my life, my faith, or anything.
We had a minister come in who was very independent, and he moved various things. He did anything in church they wanted to, move the flag or various things. Which, you know, that little old country church with older people in, you don't change things unless you ask, and then you do it very quietly and piece by piece. Okay.
Sure.
Well, he did everything that he went to that way, and we asked him at the board meeting why he did. He says, because I wanted to, you know. And he was very, humanity and the church split. Or the music too. We have hymnals, and we sing out of them quite a bit. And we use some of the new music too. But we don't have any drums or guitar or things of that sort. They have the organ and piano.
We have guests sometimes who bring their
Yeah.
instruments. But, we're going over to the more modern music now. Samuel's there, and Sam.
Yeah.
Sam T, that's what I call him, but it's Samuel and Sam. But he's bringing in more.
The church burnt down in 02, I think, and they built one in 04. And there was a big discussion on the kind of rugs that we should have in there.
What color?
They said they wanted a nice brown rug because when the guys chewed tobacco and missed a spittoon, they didn't want it to color the.
We
You
just
heard
talked
that?
about that today.
Oh,
in
did it?
class.
Okay.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. You know, so we've changed a lot. We don't have spittoons anymore.
Yeah.
All kids.
We were pretty solid group. Foundation wise, all of us together, a family. So if the preacher left, okay.
And but you know, we had a young man, Ethan. And somebody said about going to go get a hymnal, and he said, "What's a hymnal?" I mean, like.
He didn't know what hymnal was.
And he didn't know the song that "How Great Thou Art." He didn't know that, you know.
Oh, really?
And that was unusual to us because it seems like everybody knows that. But he strictly liked the contemporary music. And we were told one time that someday our church won't have an organ or piano, we'll have drums, guitars. But we still have the church, we still have the piano and the organ.
Don't change things. I'm going to say
Yeah.
personally, don't change things. Try to find out. The LC talked about this the other. They find out what kind of church it is. You know, what the feelings are of all the people, and then, as LC is doing, change things. If you want to change things, change them gradually, and let people kind of know why you're changing them.
Be sincere with people.
Yeah, sincerity is the most important thing.
Well, one thing you remember, he's the most important thing in your life. I mean, you look just toward him for help and keep your faith.
Prayer, like I said, 10 Commandments, prayer is so important. We don't always ask. He doesn't always answer the way you want to in life. But, you know, he's always there. Always be thankful for the little things. I mean, the sun comes up every morning, and if you see a sunset, they're never the same. And you go out in the woods, and you see the trees, and you see all kinds of creations, all the animals. But there's so much to learn.
Then sings my